जय जिनेंद्र संदीप भाई.
Jai Jinendra.
जय जिनेंद्र.
Jai Jinendra.
जिनेंद्र
Paru.
Jai Jinendra.
All right.
जय जिनेंद्र. जय जिनेंद्र.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to mute everyone. So those who are speaking, you need to unmute yourself, yeah?
Start. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Yes, it is 8 o'clock.
Jai Jinendra, everyone.
Jinendra.
About 2,600 years ago. Can we have everybody else on mute, please? About 2,600 years ago, in the Sthanang Sutra, Maharaj Swami talked about 4 types of humans who come on this earth. There are humans who come from darkness, they stay in darkness, and they live in darkness. There are those who come from darkness, they stay in darkness, but they live in light. Then there are those who come from light, they stay in darkness, or they stay in darkness and they go in darkness. And there are those humans who come in light, stay in light, spread light, and go in light. Last Saturday, we got this devastating news that Pujya Yuvacharya Shubhamji Maharaj very untimely left us for the heavenly abode. And however much we wanted her to be with us because she was greatly needed by all of us. The other thing was that Maharaj Swami was also asked at the time of his death. There was a very bad planetary influence that was about to happen, which was called Bhashma Graha, which is basically Saturn. And that was very inauspicious astrological sign, which would mean impending doom for mankind, lots of famine and lots of plague and stuff. But people suggested that if an elevated soul on earth stays, then the effects of that planet would be reduced. So they requested Mahavir Bhagwan, please, can you not extend your life by a couple of years more so that this influence goes? But of course, Mahavir Swami could not do that. So no one can prevent death. Mankind has made a lot of progress in science. We've got the COVID vaccines come out so quickly, so much progress. Whatever mankind wants, they can actually achieve. But one thing they cannot conquer is death. And death is inevitable. So last weekend, just before on Friday evening, Acharya Shri spoke to Shubhamji Maharaj, who was in the hospital at 6 p.m. And Shubhamji Maharaj was perfectly fine. She talked to Acharya Shri, she conversed very well. And then at midnight, her health started deteriorating, and the doctors said that she's not going to last very long. So Acharya Shri phoned and gave her the Santaro Vrat, which is a vrat taken basically in the last moment where you are going to give up your body, and you take a vow of forgiveness, you take a vow of equanimity, and that is the way you go. And at 6 o'clock early morning, she passed away. And we were all deeply saddened. I personally have cried a lot this week. and in today, if I get a bit emotional, then please forgive me. But she was very dear to all of us. And with that in mind, I now request Sonal to please commence this evening's proceedings. Thank you.
Jai Jinendra. Namo Arahantanam, Namo Namo, Namo Setanam, Namo Namo, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Namo, Namo Yuvacharyanam, Namo Namo, Namo Loye Savasahunam, Namo Loye Savasahunam, Eso Panchanamo Karo, Sava Pavapanasano, Mangalananja Savesim, Pajamam Havai Mangalam, Pajamam Havai Mangalam. Logasa ujo yagare, Dhamma tithayare jine, Arihante kittai sam, Jovi sambhikevali, Usabamajiyam javande, Sambhavimabhinandanam cha sumahim cha, Paumapaham supasam, Jinam cha chandapaham vande, Suvihim cha puffadantam, Siyalasijan savasupujam cha, Vimalamanantam cha jinam, Dhammam santim cha vandami, Kunthum maram cha mallim, Vande munisuviyam namichinam cha, Vandami richanemim, Pasam tahavattamanam cha, Evam maye abitva, Vyuramyamalapahina charmarna, Jovi sampi jinavara, Tithayarami pasyantu, Kittiya vandiya mahiya, Je elogasa uttama siddha, Aroga pohilabam, Samavimaramuttama dintu, Chande sunim malayara, Aiche swahiyam payasayara, Sagarvara kambira, Siddha siddhim mamati santu, Siddha siddhim mamati santu. Om.
A divine soul showering love and light on all, left unexpectedly, leaving a great void behind. Named Shobha at birth, Shubhamji Maharaj was born in a good family and had a very happy young childhood. At the age of 13, she came to Calcutta to study and stayed with Acharya Chandanaji. She was extremely intelligent and confident child who had no fear. At the age of 15, she traveled all over India to spread the ethos of Virayatan, Seva, Siksha and Sadhana, and to make people aware of the establishment of the Virayatan Seva work in Rajgir. Imagine, would we be so confident and fearless at such a young age? In addition to her schooling, she also learned Sanskrit and Prakrut from Gurudev Upadhyay, Amar Muniji and Acharya Chandanaji. She was gifted with a very powerful memory. She was able to remember in sequence and respond to more than 100 questions from a very young age. Now, Virayatan started education of children in 1973. Many of the children who came wouldn't have washed for days and were very dirty. Shubhamji Maharaj and Vibhaji Maharaj, they hadn't taken Diksha then. They were very young, would wash these children, give them king clothes, comb their hair before teaching them. This was a practical way of showing how to maintain cleanliness. When the eye operation started in 1974, Shobha, as she was then, took this opportunity to initiate teaching the patients and their families about the importance of cleanliness and non-violence, not being abusive or fighting with each other, not eating meat, as well as not drinking alcohol. She told them that with their new vision, they needed to have a new positive way of living. And I have experienced this when I went there. She delivered this with such gentleness, but firmness. Since then to now, over 2 million patients and their families have been taught these good values, and this continues even now. At the age of 21 in 1978, she took Diksha, and in her initial years undertook in-depth study of religious scriptures, Jain, Vedic, and Buddhist. She led on several humanitarian projects, living her entire life in spirituality. And as Virayatan expanded globally, Shubhamji Maharaj traveled to many countries, USA, UK, Africa, Muscat, Dubai, preaching Jain values to all ages. She has transformed the lives of thousands of people, as we heard on Monday, and developed a one-to-one relationship with so many people around the world. Shubhamji Maharaj's existence was one with Thai Maharaj, and Thai Ma's divine qualities shone through Shubhamji Maharaj in every step of her way. She was appointed a Yuvacharya a few years back, which means she would have been the next Acharya. An angel who gave but never took anything, who even in death inspired seva. Abhay Bhai Firodia, the president of Virayatan, India, has pledged the opening of a diagnostic center in Rajgir to benefit all the people. He said that having lost a healthy person at such a young age made him feel something needed to be done. She was an exceptional person, and Sandeep will now sing a song in dedication to her.
This song is dedicated to Shubhamji Maharaj, who was also very fondly known as a laughing Buddha, because she spread light, as I mentioned. She spread light to everyone. Madhuban khushbu deta hai, sagar savan deta hai, जीना उसका जीना है, जोरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। सूरज ना बन पाए तो बन के दीपक चलता चल, सूरज ना बन पाए तो बन के दीपक चलता चल, फूल मिले या अंगारे, सच की राहों पे चलता चल, सच की राहों पे चलता चल, प्यार दिलों को देता है, अश्कों को दामन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, चोरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। चलती है लहरा के पवन के साथ सभी की चलती रहे, चलती है लहरा के पवन के साथ सभी की चलती रहे, लोगों ने त्याग दिए जीवन के प्रीत दिलों में पलती रहे, के प्रीत दिलों में पलती रहे, दिल वो दिल है जो औरों को अपनी धड़कन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है, सागर सावन देता है, जीना उसका जीना है, जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है। प्रमित भाई। This is a short video in memory of Shubhamji Maharaj.
Jai Jinendra. In these pictures that you've just seen, there were many of us from the UK. Personally, I've met Yuvacharya Shubhamji Maharaj 25 years ago in Rajgir. And since then, over the years, my family and I have been very fortunate to have spent time with her on several occasions. I just want to share some of my experiences with you. In 2011, we went on a jatra from here. And when we were returning from Sametsika on coach, it was dark. And then suddenly our coach stopped in a very secluded place. The road was blocked with boulders and there were bandits standing in the road, brandishing sticks. We were all very scared, but Shubhamji Maharaj was with us without any fear or hesitation. She got down and she approached the bandits. And when the bandits saw her, they fell at her feet. They asked her for forgiveness and quickly cleared the road for us to continue our journey. This was a testament of the respect held by even the most hardened people of Bihar for her and for the Virayatan Sadhvis. In all the time I've known her, her compassion for all living beings has been unconditional and universal, not only for humans, but animals and birds as well. You saw in the video, birds were eating from her hands. She would often go and rescue caged birds that were being sold in the markets. She would check if they were hurt, she would treat their injuries, and then she would release them in the wild. Even the birds, they could sense her aura, and they weren't frightened. We know she was very knowledgeable. However, she always remained very simple, patient, and humble. But she was always ready and willing to help us if we wanted to learn, which many of us were lucky enough to experience in 2017, when she spent 6 weeks with us here in London. In 2019, on our Virayatan volunteering program, we had taken some teenagers there, and on our way to Pawapuri school, we would see workers in the rice paddy fields standing there 10 hours every day. Seeing that, Rita Ben commented to Shubhamji Maharaj, it makes me really sad to see that these workers are enduring such hardship and for such little money. Yet when we eat rice, we may even waste it without even a thought. Shubhamji Maharaj said to her, it's not enough just to be sorry. That is not the answer. Instead, when we see and feel things like this happening, we should not just feel sorry, but we should take positive action. And for her, this was true compassion in action. Another quality of Shubhamji Maharaj was that whether, like me, you had known her for a long time, or whether you had met her just for the very first time, she would always greet you with the same affection and love and smile. Finally, I'd just like to say that we often talk about the qualities of the soul being bliss, knowledge, energy, and perception. Well, for me personally, she truly reflected that throughout her life. Thank you for listening. I'd like to now pass it over to Ketan, who's going to give a further description. Thank you.
Thank you, Pramit Bhai. Jai Jinendra. I only got to know Shubhamji Maharaj relatively recently. That was in October, November 2017, when she stayed at Rita Ben and Bakul Bhai's house. The instant I met her, I sensed there was something very special about her. Over the course of a few weeks, I was very lucky to learn the Tattvata Sutra with her. Indeed, we established a good connection, and when I visited Bangalore in late 2019, I had the opportunity to look at the Virayatan plan for building a school in Bangalore. I was also very fortunate enough to meet and stay with Shubhamji's family. Her last words to me when I sent her a message for a speedy recovery just a few weeks ago were, "I'm good. blessings infinite. Words can never fully capture the qualities of a person. I have, however, written a poem of my thoughts. Shubhamji Maharaj, you always saw the human in every connection, never status or age, just a relation. Your humility made you powerful, and your kindness ever wonderful. You always talked like a friend to anyone. Shubhamji Maharaj, you are forever steadfast for someone. Your laughter came from a special place, a reminder of childhood and spontaneity that prevails. Your body may have left us and gone. We are in pain. Your special qualities remain, from which we will always gain. Thank you. I'd like to hand over to Rita Ben.
Rita Ben? Before you speak, Rita Ben, can I just say something quickly, please? ज्योत से ज्योत जगा के चलो, ज्योत से ज्योत जगा के चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो, राह में आए जो दीन दुखी, राह में आए जो दीन दुखी, सबको गले से लगा के चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो, जिसका न कोई संगी साथी, ईश्वर है रखवाला, जो निर्धन है, जो निर्बल है, वो है प्रभु का प्यारा, प्यार के मोती, प्यार के मोती लुटाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो. Sorry, I was feeling a bit emotional, so
Jinendra Bata, Shubhamji Maharaj was very dear to us, and we will miss us a lot. Let us all pray for her Atma to be in peace, but also for her to continue on this spiritual path and achieve the goal which she has, which she took the vow to do while she was with us. So you can all recite the prayers together whilst you are muted. Vasagaharam pasam pasam vandami kamaganamukam visahara visaninnasam mangala kalana avasam visahara fullingamantam kanthe dhare ijo sayamano tasagah rogamari duttha jara janti uvasamam चिट्ठ उदुरे मंतो तुच्छ प्रणामो वि बहु फलो होई नरतिरिये सुवि जीवा पावंती न दुख दोगचम तुह समत्ते लत्ते चिंतामणि कप्पपाय वपहिये पावंती अविखेणम जीवाय रामणम ठाणम ये संतुओ महायस भक्ति पर निपरेण हियेण तादेव तेज बोहिम भवे भवे पास ज्ञ चंद तादेव तेज बोहिम भवे भवे पास ज्ञ चंद. We'll now recite 3 Nauka mantras together. Namo Arahantanam, Namo 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 Setanam, Namo 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 Ayariyanam, Namo 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 Uvajjayanam, Namo Namo. Namo Loye Savvasahunam, Namo Loye Savvasahunam. Eso Panchanamokaro, Savva Pavapanasano, Mangalalam cha Savvesim, Padamam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arahantanam, Namo Namo. Namo Setanam, Namo Namo. Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Namo. Namo Uvajjayanam, Namo Namo. Namo Loye Savvasahunam, Namo Loye Savvasahunam. Eso Panchanamokaro, Sabba Pavapanasano, Mangalalam cha Savvesim, Padamam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arahantanam, Namo Namo. Namo Setanam, Namo Namo. Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Namo. Namo Uvajjayanam, Namo Namo. Namo Loye Savvasahunam, Namo Loye Savvasahunam. Eso Panchanamokaro, Savva Pavapanasano, Mangalalam cha Savvesim, Padamam Havai Mangalam. Padamam Havai Mangalam. Naveen bhai, unmute yourself.
Jai Jirendra, everyone. It was quite shocking that Virayatan SCVP lost two great Samkit souls within a week. PP Param Pujya Yuvacharya Shubhamji Maharaj and our founding trustee Nilesh Bhai Doshi. Shubhamji Maharaj was an amazing soul who showed love, compassion, and friendship to all with utmost humility. She touched so many lives and left behind an indelible impression on whoever she met. She transformed many lives around the world. Her wisdom, simplicity, and humility endear to everyone she met. We will certainly miss her. As per her original name, Sobha, she was really a Sobha of Virayatan. And as Shubhamji, she did a lot of Shubham project for Virayatan during her short lifetime, following the footsteps of Taima with Seva, Shiksha, and Sadhana. All these three principles were embedded in her life. Finally, again, I'm mentioning the S, she took Santaro as any true saint would end her life. She left us on 2nd January at 6 a.m. for her further spiritual journey. We would always miss her and remember her. We pray that her eternal soul rest in eternal peace. Jai Jinendra. Now I'll ask Geeta to give a small tribute to Shubhamji.
Hello everyone. This was a very hard week for all of us. We are missing two great souls, from our circle, from Virayatan family, and we know that they both must be in the Devgati and they can still keep us supporting and helping us. So I got few lines to sing for Shubhamji Maharaj. Shubhamji me तुझ पालव पकड्यो हवे कदी ना छोडू रे तमारो मुखडू जोता जोता हर्ष अति उभराए रे दुष्कर छे आ भवसागरमा મળે નહીં કિનારો રે ડૂબી જાઉં શુભમજી મહારાજ હાથ પકડજો મારો રે તમારે શરણે આવેલાને મળે નહીં જાકારો રે તમારા ચરણે સોંપી દીધો છે અંતરનો એક તારો રે અંતરનો એક તારો રે. We pray that she will help us from her Devgati and support us all the way. Thank you all.
Once again, Jai Jinendra, everyone. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking part in this great tribute to Pujya Shubhamji Maharaj. I sincerely thank Sandeep Bhai, Rasila Ben, and Rita Ben, who played a major part in organizing today's tribute to Pujya Shubhamji Maharaj. We pray that her blessings will be with us all the time. Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. We are now starting the adult class, so our term has begun. And today's topic is sadhana and the art of living.
Okay.
This is from the book Walk With Me by Pujya Sri Channaji and Vastupal Parekh. The topic today is Anand, Punya and Tamali, but the main topic is sadhana. So what do we mean by sadhana? Sadhana is methodical discipline to attain desired knowledge or goal. Everything can be sadhana. The way you eat, the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you conduct your body, mind, and your energies and emotions. This is sadhana. So basically what Jain Dharma says is that any activities that you do in your life, you have to do it with carefulness, with awareness, with a lot of dedication. Sadhana does not mean any specific kind of activity. Sadhana means use whatever you are using, everything as a tool for your well-being and your progress. Now, when it says well-being, the well-being is not only just for your physical well-being, but for your mental and emotional well-being, as well as your spiritual well-being. The elements of sadhana are, so first of all, there is sadhak, who is a seeker, the traveler. Sadhana is a practice or what to cultivate in this journey. And sadhya is that which is to be achieved or the goal or the destination. And the word sadhu comes from the word sadhana. So sadhu is basically a person who is following this path of spirituality to reach to the ultimate goal, and with a lot of discipline, because a sadhu takes a number of big vows, and with those vows he progresses further and further in his spiritual evolvement. So how do we choose sadhana? So sadhana means interest or zeal, abhiruchi it's called. So basically you need to have that inner desire in order to achieve. So whatever you desire, for example, somebody starts on a new career and they want to progress further and further in their career. They are going to make every effort to either learn all the skills that are necessary for the various jobs or work that they're going to be doing. And as they progress, they will be looking at opportunities which present themselves, which are there, so that they can use those opportunities to better themselves. And the same thing, and that is also sadhana, but that is of a material kind of sadhana. Here we are talking about a spiritual sadhana, where you need an interest, you need to have that zeal. Then you need to have strength or shakti. So you need to have an inner strength that, no matter what, there could be downfalls, there could be, great revelations, but you need to keep on having that energy in order to keep on gradually progressing on the path. The same thing applies in daily life. You have setbacks and then you progress further. You have setbacks and you progress further. Then you need to have discretion, which is vivek. So discretion is deciding what is right and what is wrong. So for example, in your career, you will use your discretion to say, okay, this path is good for me, that path is not good for me. And you will keep on using it in order to progress further and further in your career. The same thing applies to spiritual, because you need to have discretion and you need to decide that, okay, this is the right way, this is the right, because there are so many avenues open to you. In order to do spiritual progress, you have to use your discretion to say what makes the most sense to me, and use your intelligence, which is the next one, buddhi or wisdom, in order to decide, okay, this is the path I want to choose. So examples of sadhana are bhakti. So, bhakti is whenever you see people praying, like Mirabai used to pray, Narsi Mehta used to pray, so many people used to pray. And they achieved their spiritual salvation through bhakti. The other one is puja. Puja basically means where you actually go into a temple and you worship the qualities of the deity who is present in the temple. So you will carry out various rituals, but while you are doing your rituals, you are totally in submission, you are totally focused on what you are doing, and you are not worried about the outside world. Swadhyay means basically studying. So you study, which is what we are doing now. This is Swadhyay that we are doing. So Swadhyay is where you study, you learn, you understand. Samayik is something I will come to a bit later, but it is there. So Samayik is basically sitting in a form of meditation for 48 minutes. Or longer. And the last one is dhyan, which is a progression from samayik, where you actually go within yourself and you try and discover yourself from within. So sadhana in the spiritual sense is knowing that what is permanent within you and what is impermanent within you. Sorry. So Acharang Sutra has these following verses. Appana meseja miti bhuesu kappaye. That is, find the truth within yourself and have the power to be friendly with all living beings in this world. So basically it is saying that miti bhuesu kappaye, which means that once you have that bhav within yourself or find your true self, you realize that your true self is no different from other true selves of other living beings all around you. In your body, you have waves of experience, sensations. You keep on having these waves, they're called leheres in Hindi. Basically, they come and they go, they come and they go, and these experiences and sensations. So when you are in this process of finding yourself, you start becoming aware of these. The next one is Appama Din Samahina Jati. So do meditation with awareness, which is apramat, right? So Appama, which means apramat, and in equanimous state. But be aware of the waves going on within yourself. So basically, this is called Sakshi Bhav, or where you become an observer. And the last one is Sajjam Ku Bhayavam. That is, truth is a nature of a Tirthankar. Once we are in this state, then we are truly worshipping Bhagwan. Yeah. So Sajjam means Satya. Ku Bhayavam, that means Satya is God himself. And that is why I put Satyam Shivam Sundaram at the end, which means basically that whatever is truth is the self, and whatever is the self is wonderful. Because basically when you realize the truth, you realize Godhood. So the whole Jain sadhana is to know the self. But what is a self? Anyone? If you can put it in chat if you know, or if you want to respond, please. And the next one is, how do you know the self? So Ansuya Ben says Atma. Anyone else? Yeah, she says it is eternal. But how do we know the self, Ansuya Ben? You can unmute and answer if you want to.
So through doing sadhana, and as you said, you realize when you're one with whatever you're doing. So being conscious, mindfulness, everything we do, if we do it with absolute awareness, then that can be with the self, which is the soul.
Yes, correct. Absolutely. So that is basically, you have to know the self. Now the self is basically knowing that sharir and this atma, or my soul, are two separate things. And how do we know the self? So the self is known through, sorry, excuse me. We know the self by becoming aware that our body and soul are different. And in Tattvat Sutra, it says, Tattvat Shraddhanam Samyak Darshanam. To achieve Samyak Darshan, you require to accept the 9 truths. So what are the 9 truths then? My question, next question to everyone. So this is basically revision for all those who have been regularly coming into adult class. So you can unmute and answer.
The first one is Jeev.
Yes. Then?
Ajeev.
Yeah.
Pudgal.
Yeah, but Pudgal is what? What are Pudgals?
Yeah, so Ajeev, it encompasses everything. That's Pudgal. Anybody else who wants to answer?
Anyone?
Sandeep, question again, please.
The question is that Tattva Shraddhanam Samyak Darshanam, to achieve Samyak Darshan, you need to accept the 9 truths. Now Satya chene e. Ane hu puchu chu, what are the 9 truths, please?
Okay.
Pap and Punya.
Pap and Punya, which is 1. Yes, go on, next one.
Samvar Nirjara.
Ashram.
Yes.
Ashram, Samvar Nirjara.
Bandh.
Bandh, Moksha. Moksha.
Yeah, very good. So those are the 9 truths. So basically, these are the 9 realities. And all of this is, as Ansuya Ben said, it is an interplay between Jeev and Ajeev. So Jeev is your soul and Ajeev is everything else which they mentioned. Basically, these are actions of karmas. And if you learn to accept this, if you learn that, yes, your life is dictated by this, and this is what governs everything that happens around you, then you are able to be more focused, more disciplined, and which is what sadhana requires, intense discipline. And but sadhana also starts when one cultivates awareness, as Ansuya Ben mentioned earlier on, of one's thoughts, actions, and words, and uses this very carefully. and accepts responsibility for own actions. This is very, very important. You know, apri life, we are so ready to blame COVID, we are ready to blame the government, we are ready to blame the NHS, we are ready to blame the traffic police, we are ready to blame policemen for not governing people wearing masks, we are ready to blame supermarkets for not telling people to wear masks. But if everyone started accepting responsibility for their own actions, if everyone started observing all the rules that have been set out properly, then there would be no cause of blame. And this is where, so basically charity begins at home. This is what this thing is saying. Any questions so far? So now the next three things I want you to think about and either answer, unmute and answer, or you can put it in chat. In fact, I'd rather that you unmuted and answer, because then at least I know that you are awake. So life cannot be without actions, but actions can be without sin. So basically what this means is any time that you are, whether you are a sadhu or whether you are in a worldly life or wherever you are, you cannot not do actions. You have to do actions, whether it's in your mind, actions are going on, you know, thoughts are coming in, or physically you are doing actions, or emotionally, whatever you are doing actions. But actions can be without sin. And I want your thoughts and I want some examples. The second one is enjoy life, but do not make a spectacle of yourself. Do not lose control when buying things. And the third one is self-controlled and balanced life is the key to spiritual progress. So I want your opinions, your ideas on all these three. So you can unmute and you can answer it, or you can tell me you in chat or whatever. So I'm going to give you like 2 minutes to come back to me, please. And don't just sit there quietly listening. It's good if you participate. Then when you participate, you learn more. So ask questions and respond, please.
Yeah, the action without sin, right? That's the question, right? The example is the doctors doing the surgery, try to save the lives of the people. The action, but there is no sin in that action.
Yes.
It's a compassion.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Basically, it's saying if your bhav is good, whatever action you do.
Yeah, intention.
I assume that by sin you mean pap.
Yes.
Yeah,
and not
that's
punya.
what I mean.
Yeah, so if your bhav is uttam, the action will automatically be without sin. If you do it with the right bhav, the moment you get angry, jealous, whatever, you want to lie or something, that's when you bind the pap.
So do you think that if everybody brought a bit of awareness in their actions, their life would be without sin?
I think intention is also not only the awareness of the good intention. With good intention, that's the key for reducing the sin.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Intention is very, very important. કે તમારા ભાવ સાચા હોવા જોઈએ. પણ ભાવ આપણે ક્યારે all the time આપણે સાચા ભાવમાં રહીએ છીએ in this world?
No, that's the problem.
આપણે ક્યાંક પાર્ક કર્યું અને કોઈ પાર્કિંગ ટિકિટ આપી જાય તો આપણને ઇનિશિયલી શું થાય?
We get angry and upset, obviously.
Well, we first of all say that maybe Olano Vakhato, that parking ticket attendant, that he shouldn't have basically given me a parking ticket. Then we go and read the sign on the street which says, okay, what are the restrictions on this parking area? And then even then, when we go home, we tell not only our husbands and wives and children and everyone that you got a parking ticket, you'll probably tell all your friends, because it is something that you do not like that has happened to you. Yeah, so it is very, very important that you accept this. Like Shubhamji Maharaj, when she was in the hospital, and when Pujya Sadhviji Shilapiji Maharaj went to see her and talked to her, so Shubhamji Maharaj said, I'm fine, I'm perfectly fine. Yet she knew internally that she was not well, because obviously she must have realized what was happening within her body.
She knew, she'd asked the doctors everything.
Exactly. So she was very, very clever, and she knew, and she could even understand what the doctors must have been discussing. But there was that whole thing that, yes, now if it had been anybody else in that position, perhaps there would not have been that equanimous. There would not have been that. They might have cried, they might have been upset, they might have been depressed, and you know, that would have even affected them further. The second one I have is enjoy life, but do not make a spectacle of yourself. So what do we mean by enjoying life and not making a spectacle of ourselves?
Haram samaram nahi karwanu.
Bas, sir, everything in life you do with moderation. And a moderation and a self-control and a balanced life. So basically, do not get carried away if you have a lot of material and you know, anything which the world has to offer, you get it. Do not get carried away, and do not get depressed if that is also not with you. That is what all these things mean. So is everybody clear?
Yes.
Right. So now I'm going to tell you the story of Anand Shravak. Sorry, question?
Yeah. So would you say that Shubhamji Maharaj knew the difference between the Atma being pure and the body that was sick? So she could differentiate the difference between the soul and the body?
Yeah. I think Shubhamji Maharaj, you know, Atma, of course, you know, ekdam ekdam pachayu tu. So she knew at the right moment, you know, this is what is happening to me. And I think even though she would not have accepted the donation, she was going to get a donation of the liver from her sister's son, Piyush, but she would not have accepted it because she would not want another person to suffer in order for her to be well. But these are all the signs of somebody who is so elevated, and they are so aware about not only themselves. What we do is, and this is a very good example which Yashaji Maharaj gave the other day, okay, most people live within themselves, their immediate family. Shubhamji Maharaj, you know, would come and she would sit in the middle, and she would accept, and she would not only do things for herself or her family, but she would do it for the entire Jain Sangh, everyone. And this is the true sign of a very elevated soul, because this is what Mahavir Swami did, right? He found his own Keval Gnan, but he still stayed behind in order to try and tell people what he had achieved and show them the path. Yeah. So this is from the Upshak Dashang Sutra, Anand Shravak. So Anand Shravak was a very, very wealthy, rich merchant. And he happened to come to one of Mahavir Swami's Samvatsaran. And Mahavir Swami at that Samvatsaran was talking about sadhana. And Mahavir Swami was saying that how, you know, gradual practice. Basically, when you are cleaning something or when you are learning a skill, and if you keep on practicing it, you get better and better and better at it. The same thing he was talking about. And Anand Shravak goes up to Mahavir Swami and he says that, Bhante, you know, can I do sadhana? Because my wife, Shivananda, and myself, we would like to do this. And Mahavir Swami says, why not? And what Anand Shravak does is gradually, over a period of time, he starts giving up. So basically, he initially gives up all his wealth to his children. And then he starts leading like an ascetic, but in a household. And gradually, even from that asceticness, he withdraws, until he reaches a certain stage, which is possible for somebody living in the worldly life to reach. And from that, he takes the 12 vows, which are Shravak vows, which I will come to just now. Which Pratikramarma ave che, apna Vanditu Sutrama, we talk about all of this. He took all those vows. Basically, those vows prepare you to a point where you can take Diksha and you can leave this world. And this is what Anand Shravak did. And of course, when he was doing this, he achieved such a state that he could see in the seventh heaven. He achieved Avdignan. And Gautam Swami came to, people were talking about it. So Gautam Swami came to find out. And Gautam Swami, and Anand Shravak asked Gautam Swami that, Goima, please, can you tell me that is this possible for a lay person to achieve Avdignan? And Gautam Swami says, no, it is not possible. And he goes to Mavi Swami, and Mavi Swami says, no, Gautam, you are wrong. Anand Shravak has achieved Avdignan, and you must immediately go to apologize. And Gautam Swami in humility jokingly, he actually goes back to Anand Shravak and he seeks apology. And of course, Anand Shravak then went to heaven. Sorry, my slides keep on getting stuck because I speak too much. So these are called pratimas, basically, and this is how Anand Shravak moved up. So basically, an intuition or awakening too, which is called darshan pratima. Now, awakening is where you realize samyak darshan within yourself, and you realize that my body and soul are different. Then you take the bar vrat, which is the vrat pratima, taking vows. Then you start doing samayik, which is practicing meditation. Then you start practicing poshad. Basically, you start taking a few days or a month in a year or something. You start living like an ascetic. Then you do sachit tyag pratima. Basically, you start giving up certain food. Then you take basically ratri bhokta pratima, basically a sexual restraint. Then finally brahmacharya. Now brahmacharya is it's celibacy of every sense, not just physical, right? And then aram tyag pratima, basically you start living your work and you start living your possessions. Then you detach yourself from the family, and then you do the Udishta Tyag Pratima, which is basically you leave the family to lead on an ascetic life. So these are the 11 Pratimas, and one of them is obviously taking vows, which is Shravak Pratima, which a lot of Jain Shravaks do. So these are the 12 vows. Ahimsa Vrat, these are Anuvrats or partial vows. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahma, or brahmacharya, and aparigraha. Then there are guna-vrat. So digvrat is basically controlling the directions in which you will move. Bhog upabhog pariman vrat, which is basically consuming and reconsuming certain goods. Anartha dand, which is basically unnecessary, unuseful conversations, anything which is not conducive to a spiritual progress, you stop doing it. And then Siksha is Samayik. Again, so you see Samayik comes here as well. Deshavakasika, basically you take even stricter rules about moving around. Poshad Upvas Vrat, basically you start living like an ascetic. So here Poshad comes as well. And Dan basically giving alms or charity. So these are the vows again, which I just mentioned. Ahimsa, Satya, Achorya, Brahmacharya. Dig is vow to limit an area, vow to leave further use of consumables and non-consumables. Anartha dand is avoiding a commitment of purposeless sin. And Samayik Vrat is basically meditation, which is vow of limited duration. So here Samayik is of a limited duration. Gradually, when you achieve Samayik, then you want to stay more into that state. Deshavakasika is basically limiting the space, further limiting the space. Poshad, as I mentioned, where you start living like an ascetic, or you start practicing to live like an ascetic. And Yatithi Samvibhag, basically, it is the Dan Vrat that I talked about. Any questions so far from anyone? Please speak and don't fall asleep. Sorry, my thing keeps on freezing. So Samayik is where I come to, because Samayik is a very important part of sadhana. The preposition sam means where one is in a state of being, and to become one is samay, and that oneness has its object is samayikam. So samayik is mainly developed at equanimity and to refrain from injury. Now, one thing is true, that if you learn the art of samayik, and it requires a lot of practice, just doesn't happen every time, but if you start doing it regularly, you will have certain days where something wonderful happens to you, you will have certain days where nothing happens to you. But if you keep on practicing samayik, then it is likely that you will achieve a great spiritual progress in your life. So on the third pratima stage, the householder resolves to observe the samayik vow 3 times a day, after renouncing all attachments and aversion. So this is how you go into samayik. And adopting a sense of equanimity in all objects, one should practice many times periodic concentration called samayik. The principle means to realize the true nature of the soul. So this is in the Purusha Artha Siddhi Upaya. So to do sadhana, to progress on the path of Samyak Darshan, samayik is a requisite. So if you really are sincere about your spiritual progress, if you really are sincere that you want to move spiritually, then it is very important that you develop the habit of being samayik, because it is an effective tool that helps us to be humble and pious, so that our mind and soul can become free from all passions such as greed and ego. Past is a memory and future is imagination. When consciousness gets stabilized, so you become basically kind of mindfulness, being in the present. This is what samayik does for you. It starts fading the kashais, and this is the state of samayik. We don't do a samayik, we have to be in a samayik. So આપણે એમ ના કહે કે હું સામાયિક કરું છું, એમ કહે કે હું સામાયિકમાં બેઠો છું, right? And in Shuddh Samayik, one need not do anything like dhyan, jap, reading, etc. So Samayik, initially, of course, there's a ritual to be followed and certain sutras to be recited. And then finally, people do either a Naukarvari Moara, or they do some scriptural reading, or they will recite Bhaktamar or whatever they appeals to them. But when you reach a further stage of Samayik, then you do not need to do anything like dhyan, jap, or reading, or etc., because you are in a state of being. Your meditation becomes purer and purer and purer. And for a short time, you will stop doing all activities of mind, speech, and body, and experience the internal peace, light, and happiness. So, for example, when you are doing something that you enjoy, certain people like doing artwork, gardening, various other hobbies that you have. And I don't know if you know, Taima is wonderful. She's developed this wonderful Kala Mandir in Rajgraha. And there are these wonderful little statues that she has created out of flour, and then baked them and then painted them, and they are beautiful. And when you are doing that, that is also sadhana, because your mind is totally focused in what you are doing, what is giving you pleasure, and it is not focused in your past or in your future. It is not focused in any kind of kashai. It is focused on creating something wonderful. And especially, for example, that is why they say bhakti is very important, because bhakti ma apne Bhagwan sathe conversation kariye, prayer ma apne Bhagwan sathe conversation kariye, ani prayer ma apna bhav etla shuddh thai jai, etla pure thai jai, ke everything else which is worldly, which is affecting us, disappears. So now I come to the story of Punya Shravak. So Mahavir Swami had done this again, a Sambhosaran, and a Raja Shrenik comes, and Raja Shrenik was approaching Mahavir Swami with a lot of pride, because he was a king of that area, and he felt that he could, anything with money and with his power, he could achieve. So he comes in front of Mahavir Swami, and Mahavir Swami was giving a lecture on Samayik and what needs to happen with Samayik. And Mahavir Swami was saying that with that, you can achieve a lot of spiritual progress. So Raja Shrenik approaches Mahavir Swami, and he says that please, I am sure I can buy Samayik because I have so much wealth. And Maharaj Swami says, but this requires a lot of effort. He says, yeah, but I've got all my wealth. I can give it to whoever. So Maharaj Swami, with a small smile on his face, says, okay, then do me a favor. Go and buy one Samayik from Pujya Shravak. Now, Pujya Shravak and his wife were these people who were not very well off at all. But they had made a vow between the two of them that one day one of them will eat, the next day another one will eat. So one day one will fast, the next day another one will fast. And also they will do Samayik. And while they are eating, if somebody comes to their door, any Sadhu Maharaj or any any person who's deserving of alms, then they will offer part of their alms. So one day Pujya Shravak was sitting in his Samayik, and his Samayik was feeling disturbed. He was not feeling comfortable. So he kept on wondering, and then he asked his wife, he says, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling comfortable. What is wrong with my Samayik? Have we done anything wrong? So they started examining what they had done. So now the wife on her way home had picked up a cow dung from the road. And obviously it was a dried cow dung, and she had brought it home and she had used it for cooking. And that is when he realized that this cow dung was not ours to pick. So this is where upper parigraha also comes in, that this was something which was lying on the road. She picked it up because she thought it was of no use to anyone, and she was using it. But Elokonu spiritual awareness, he realized that there was something wrong. And therefore, he tells his wife that we should never do these things. We should never take anything that doesn't belong to us or which has not been given to us. So anyway, Shrenik Raja comes and he says, oh, Pujya, I'm your king. And of course, Pujya Shravak was very pleased to see Shrenik Raja and very honored. And he says that, Pujya, if you would please kindly do me a favor, can you sell me one Samayik? And Pujya looks a bit puzzled. So he says, what do you mean sell a Samayik? So Shrenik Raja says, I'll give you all the wealth. So Pujya says, but I can't sell it. So Shrenik Raja thinks that, oh, this Pujya Shravak is being sly, he wants more money. So Shrenik Raja says, I'll give even more money. But Pujya says, my lord, much as I would be honored to give you if I could, Samayik is a process that I do. It is not something that I can sell. It's a state that I go into. And that is when Shrenik Raja realized what lesson that Maharaj Swami was trying to teach him. And this is the power of Samayik, because Pujya Shravak after his death again went to Devlok. So this is the power of Samayik.
Sorry to interrupt you. There was a question from Rasik Bhai asking, would you say being engrossed in your work is Samayik?
Now, being engrossed in your work is not Samayik, because Samayik is when you are engrossed in your own spiritual progress, right? Now, when you are engrossed in your work, you mentally you are still not connected with yourself. Mentally, you are externally out of your body in the sense that you are in the world. Whereas what Samayik does is that you go within yourself. So you go within yourself. Now, the reason I use that example of somebody who's so dedicated in what they're doing is that when you are engrossed in your work, of course, you are not thinking about the external world. But at the same time, when you're engrossed in your work, you might find mistakes. You might find somebody else has not done something properly. Somebody else is not given you the information that you need. So frustrations, irritations can creep in. Whereas if you are doing something for yourself, where you're making something, you see people are crocheting or people are making something for themselves, that is a different, because they are personally responsible for what they are doing. The same thing applies to Samayik, where you go within yourself. Is that okay, Rasik Bhai? Rasik Bhai, you can...
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's fine, yeah. One has to go inside for Samayik and progression. Yeah, fair. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So the next one is Tamali of Tamralipti. But before I tell you the story, I want to talk about Tap, because here one of the questions that was asked of Mahavir Bhagwan was that when you do extreme penance, for example, as you progress on your, if you are an ascetic, and as you progress spiritually, what they do is they call Parisa Ajay, which is basically, it is called Parisa Ajay. Ajay means victory. Okay, Parisa means all kinds of adversities, you become victorious over them. And a lot of sadhus take a lot of hardships. They take up, like Mahavir Swami did. He deliberately went into that forest to see Chand Kaushik. He deliberately went to places where he knew that he had to give up his past karmas. He had to basically get rid of them. And there were people with whom he had connections from previous births. And he therefore had to visit those places. He had to suffer Sangam Dev's heinous, assaults on his body and on his soul. But at the end of even Sangam Dev's, the various kind of punishment that he gives Mahavir Swami. Mahavir Swami had tears in his eyes, and his tears were not because from pain or whatever. His tears were for Sangam Dev himself, that, Sangam Dev will suffer because of what he has done. He has bound even more karma. And similarly, he goes to Chand Kaushik, and Chand Kaushik stings him or bites him. And he knows that Chand Kaushik is actually who he was in his previous birth. Similarly, he goes to Chandan Bara, not to make her cry, but he knew that Chandan Bara was going to become the head of the Sadhvi Sangh in his order that he was going to establish. So he knew that these were people that were connected to him, but they were also going to be, he had to give them forgiveness. He had to give them some sort of a lesson. And so a lot of sadhus do that kind of penance in order to try and see how much their body can take. That doesn't mean that, for example, Mahavir Swami did 12 years of very, very difficult tap. But Mahavir Swami's body never shriveled. It did not become like bones and he looked almost as if he was about to die, because his presence was like that. When Mahavir Swami used to walk around, birds, animals, no one was scared. Otherwise, that animals are scared of humans because how horrible humans are. But in the case of Mahavir Swami, no one was scared. So this is what tap can do. And there are, and if I can get my slides to start working. So there are tap. Basically, as you move on top, the jiv purifies itself and sheds off karma through right penance. Only by practice of austerity do we cultivate detachment, willpower, and steadfastness on the path. Austerity is the mortification of the body for the regeneration of the soul. I do not even like this word mortification, because it is not mortification. Whoever does tap does it because they feel joy within. They do not do it for suffering. Mortification implies a form of suffering, and tap is not a form of suffering. Austerity prepares us to face challenges and crises of life peacefully, and to have awareness that I am a soul and not the body. So basically, any kind of suffering that you encounter, it makes you mentally and emotionally stronger. So there are outer tap, which is total fasting, semi-fasting, which is reduced diet or unodari, then voluntarily limiting the number of varieties eaten, vritti sankshap, which is basically, for example, if you're used to having 3 different shaks and 2 different athanas and I don't know what else, you reduce the items. Then you, for example, you do rasparityak, basically you give up delicacies and stimulating diets. So those who love chocolate, you give it up at this stage. Lonely habitation, sanlinta. So basically, which is what COVID is asking us to do, is isolate, right? But here you do it with your own volition, not because of COVID. And kaya klesh, which is mortification of the body. Basically, mortification, as I said, is wrong. Basically, you observe how your body is controlling you and you are not controlling the body, and gradually you win control of the body so that the body obeys you, the mind obeys you, not the other way around. And the inner tap, which is even more important while you are doing the external tap, is prayaschit, which is repentance, reverence or humility, Vinay, and this was ample in Shubhamji Maharaj. There was so much humility. She was appointed a few years back as an Acharya by Thai Maharaj, yet there was no air about her that, oh, I am something great or I am something good. She was full of humility. Then service, Vayavrat, basically being of service to your fellow mankind. Swadhyay, which is what we are doing now, but you need to do more and more and more dedicatedly. Renunciation, basically once you are moving on inner tap, you gradually start renouncing certain things in your life, and then you go into a state of meditation, or you start doing samayak, and then samayak progresses into pure meditation. So the quality of the mind. So before I come to Tamali, so Tamali was this this very a worldly person, but he saw a sadhu doing a lot of severe penances, and he felt that, you know, he had achieved everything in his life. He had a lot of wealth, he had everything, and he wanted to do that. So he thought that if I start doing it, then I will gradually give up my body and I will realize my soul. And he took this vow, and basically every evening he would go on top of the hill, he would fast, he would burn himself in the sun, because he would stand in bright afternoon sun meditating, and then he would come down in the evening, have one meal, and then go up again. And he continued doing that until he achieved moksha. Now, the devs in Devlok, some of the Vyantar devs were basically trying to tempt him. So they created a scenario and he didn't get tempted. So the Vyantar dev got very angry, and basically when Tamali passed away, they moved his body from where he had passed away to somewhere else. But it doesn't matter. Tamali went to Devlok. He did not go. Sorry, these other devs wanted him to be there, Indra Maharaj, in their Devlok. He did not. He refused, and he therefore went into another Devlok and became the king of those devas. The point here is not about what happened to him after. The point here is that he did it of his own volition. He did it with his full consciousness. He did it because he wanted to do it, not because he was torturing himself, not because, there is a lot of, in certain religions, there is self-flagellation, where especially in extreme Christianity, in extreme Islam, they do that. On Muharram Day, they do that. And that doesn't achieve anything. When you do mortification of the body, you need to be aware of your mental state and your bhav. If your bhav is pure, only can you then do tap. You start off with the tap, but you need to gradually progress to make sure that your mind or your mental state, your bhav is pure, and that you are spending that time, which tap allows you to do, because you free up so much time to basically do spiritual progress, right? So there's no point in doing tap and then getting irritated with people, because that's what happens with tap, because basically a lot of irritations, the body tries to take control, and because it doesn't get what it wants, it gives you aches, pains, everything. So the quality of the mind is very important. You need to have intelligence and balance of the mind, virtue, purity, goodness, which creates harmony. Sorry, I'm running a bit over, but we started a bit late. Quality of honesty, humility, and silence provides happiness and contentment. Principle of clarity and peace. Force of love that unites all things, compassion. Inward and upward motion towards awakening of the soul, and light and luminous in nature. So these are the pure qualities of the mind, and this is what we need to cultivate. So the solution of sadhana is twofold: abhyas or constant practice, effort and perseverance, and 20-day rule. Now, the 20-day rule, which is a modern day rule, basically this says that anything that you do continuously for 21 days, you can master it, right? And the result is that you will get vairagya or detachment, and there will be no rag or dvesh, and no, there will be over any things, any padarth. And what is broken by sadhana is delusion, attachment, resources, money or otherwise, man, which is again glory is man, again reputation is man, and status is man. Then wrong belief, which is more, rag, astakti, which is basically basically where you have enough money. Pride is dhamand, glory is mahima, reputation is pratishtha, and status is pad. Right? So all of these can take you away from sadhana. So that is why awareness, as I said at the beginning, is very important. So whenever you do anything, be very sincere with yourself. Do not do it for all these wrong reasons. And the significance of life is adhyatma, living with soul consciousness 24/7. Paropkar, which is philanthropy or charity. Again, seva or service to those in need. Elevation of suffering and misery, and helping others. Love your existence, but don't get infatuated by it. So enjoy life, but do everything in moderation. Do everything with kartavya bhav, which is sense of responsibility. So jaina rakhana. The word in Jainism is jaina. That means do it with carefulness, awareness. Don't throw things around. Don't, why do we clean the house? Why do we do things? We want everything to be neat and tidy. Similarly, our own life should be like that. And do everything in life with extreme love, gratification, and with soul consciousness, but do everything else in moderation. Thank you, everyone. And Jai Jinendra, if there are any questions, please, you can unmute and ask.
Could you unshare your screen now?
Yes, sure. So any questions, everyone? You all understood. You're now working on the path of purification, and you're ready to understand. It's so good to understand the scriptures, but apart from the scriptures, it is more important to understand yourself. Any questions?
Okay, great. I'm just going to share my screen briefly.
Yeah.
So everyone, hopefully you can see my screen. These are, if you can read it, we've got a whole series of different, very interesting adult classes coming up. So next week, Hina Ben will be taking the class. The full details are on our website, which is scvp.org.uk. So please have a look on that timetable. It also will be on the Facebook page. So hopefully we'll see you all next week at 8:15. Please tell your family and friends that these classes are started again, and encourage them to join. I'm sure everyone will find them very interesting and enlightening. Thank you very much for also attending today's remembrance service of Shubhamji Maharaj, a great soul.
So, Pramit Bhai, can I request? I think Pujya Sadhviji is with us. If she wants to say something, Sadhviji. Oh, she's gone.
She's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can I recite the Manglik, please? So everyone, close your eyes. Chattari Mangalam. Arihanta Mangalam, Sita Mangalam, Sahu Mangalam, Kevali Panatam Tamo Mangalam, Chattari Loguttama, Arihanta Loguttama, Sita Loguttama, Sahu Loguttama, Kevali pannato dhammo loguttamo. Everyone together, but on mute. Chattari sharanam pavachami. Arihante sharanam pavachami. Siddhe sharanam pavachami. Sahu sharanam pavachami. Kevali pannatam dhammam sharanam pavachami. Upasargakshayam yante chidyante vignavalaya malah prasanatameti pujyamane jineshware sarva mangala mangalyam sarva kalyana karanam pradhanam sarva dharmanam jainam jayati shashanam. Om shanti shanti shanti. Everyone, please stay safe. Keep social distance, wear masks, and just stay safe. Thank you very much. Jai Chinandra.